Today we're going to talk about real-life linear situations. Here we are given our first example. It says the graph models the value of a machine over a 10-year period. So the first thing that we need to look at is the graph. Some things we can kind of pick out is that the graph is downward sloping. It doesn't start at the origin, it starts up here at the top at 8. And we can see that the y value represents the value, and the x value represents the age or the years. So now let's answer some questions. What is the initial value of the machine, the y-intercept? So that is where our line crosses the y-axis. So our y-axis is right here, and we can see that the y-intercept is right there at 8. So the initial value of the machine would be $8,000. The reason it is 1,000 is because right here it says thousands of dollars. Now, the next question says, what is the decrease in value each year of the machine? So we need to go ahead and find 2 points on our graph. We know one can be that y value, and we have to find the next perfect corner, so we're going to trace down our line until we hit that perfect corner, which it looks like is right here. So we need to make our other dot. Now, we have to find the slope, which is the rise over run. Let's make a note of that. So we have learned to make that right angle triangle to connect the two dots. Now, the rise would be 1. Since we went down, it would be a -1. And the run would be 2. So, our rise, again, -1 over 2. Now we have to write an equation to represent the relationship between y, the value of the machine, and x, the age of the machine in years. So we know that we have to have the y equals mx plus b form. Remembering that y equals and x never ever change. We just need to now plug in what we know, which is the m and the b. So we know that slope equals m, and we know that the y-intercept equals b. So now we just plug in those numbers. Our m was at -1/2, and our b is the positive 8,000. So here's our next example. It says, which graph best represents y equals 1.4x plus 2? So we aren't given any word problems or anything to go off of. We are only given an equation. Now, the first thing that I always look at and always make a note of is this plus 2 is our b. That is our y-intercept. So I'm going to write b underneath, and the 1.4 is our m. So that's the rise over run. So the b is the easiest thing to look at first, because that's where it crosses the y-axis. So I'm going to go and highlight the y-axis on each of these graphs, so I know I am looking for where that line crosses. So now I'm going to go make a point to represent my b for each of these graphs. Here we have the origin. The origin is here. We have a positive 2, and looks like a 1.4 here. So really, we only have one good possible answer, because remember, our b is where our line crosses the y-axis. So right here, we see that our b is 2, so we just have to go and see which of these points we just made is 2. So the only one would be right here. So our answer would be G.